Yeah, joining the conversation right now with more on that, Republican fundraiser and columnist Noelle Nikpour and former Best Buy CEO Brad Anderson. Brad, good to see you. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Thanks, Maria. Great to be here.
Noelle, let me kick this off with you. Your observations on this latest Donald Trump gaffe.
Good night. What is he doing? I mean, he's already done every gaffe he could possibly do. But guess what? Nothing is really taking away from his lead. It is insane. And as a political strategist, someone that looks at this and tries to make sense of it all, I don't get it. Now, number one, it's not going to hurt him in fundraising because he's self-funded. So he feels like he can go out, he can say anything he wants because it's not hurting. If the John McCain deal by saying he's not really even a war veteran didn't get him, I think this is just going to blow over. You know, I think that what he's doing shows and proves nothing. A lot of people are saying it's going to show that he has gloves off for Hillary Clinton.
Right.
I don't think it proves anything. Attack her on her record at HP. Don't go for her looks.
Well, all right, let's get Trump's response here. He was just on Fox and Friends. We want to bring you his response. Listen to this.
Probably I did say something like that about Carla. I'm talking about persona. I'm not talking about look. Although when I get criticized for my hair, which isn't that bad, you know, you've seen me, right? It's not that bad. But when I get criticized constantly by my hair, nobody does a story about, oh, isn't that terrible? They criticized Donald Trump's hair.
Good point. Well, Brad Anderson, what do you think about that response?
First, I think this is fabulous for Carly. Carly has got to be thrilled. It highlights her substance, and I think it actually, I think it probably works for Donald because it's sort of in contrast with Hillary. Hillary's trying to play such a cautious game and a game that almost doesn't make any sense in terms of explanation. And Donald is out there making absurdist comments, but it's authentic. And it's just so interesting compared to so constrained.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But I'm actually kind of loving seeing Carly do so.
Yeah,
well.
it could actually work for Carly because she's just going to get more and more support with people saying, this is nuts.
It's a great point. Listen, I had mentioned it during a commercial break. It's worth mentioning on the air. I was in Maine over the weekend. I saw Trump sign after Trump sign. It was the only political sign I saw along the highway. What is going on?
George Mitchellstown.
Wow. It's unbelievable what's happening in this country right now. So to call this a gaffe, I think, I don't know that I agree with Dagen. I think he did it on purpose.
He's cornering the misogynist vote.
So now the ball is in Carly Fiorina's point, by the way.
Winning with that.
And how she's going to react.
Noelle, simplistic, populist candidates have always had a role in American politics. Right. What does the Republican Party do about this? It's thinking down the road. It's thinking about fielding a candidate against a Hillary, against a Bernie, against a Biden, where there's going to be some pretty substantive debate on the other side that might not be forthcoming from a simplistic populist candidate. What's the Republican Party do?
You know, I think the Republican Party, as far Trump is concerned, wants him to go away, but he's not going away. Now, when you look at someone, I think the Republican Party is trying to deal with the fact that people from the government sector aren't working, politicians aren't working, and we're having to look into the private sector, looking at Ben Carson, surgeon, looking at Carly Fiorina, looking at all these people that are non-politicians. So you have the GOP trying to rally around almost like the private sector. So it's a very difficult spot for the Republican Party to have to look at. So this is a very odd position. Never before have we had so many private sector people running.
Let me ask you, Brad Anderson, first off, you're a retail guy, former CEO of Best Buy. How would you characterize the consumer and the economy right now? And who out of the presidential candidates has the best plan that you've heard in terms of moving the needle on growth?
Well, actually, Jeb Bush's tax proposal that he came out with the last few days would be a spectacular move in relationship to growth. I don't know whether it's financially solvent in terms of what it does to the Treasury, but if a proposal like that, I think we're already having pretty good growth right now and probably going to be experiencing increased growth. But I think you put a stimulus like that on the economy, I think that they're realistically when they're talking about 4% GDP growth. So,
well, how come consumers haven't spent that savings from the gas pump yet?
Because they're still squeezed. There's no buying power. Consumers' discretionary income still is not moving. and it's not going to move until consumers get more leverage from a financial standpoint. So that's why we're still not seeing a real sharp movement like you might expect with so much good news going on in the American economy compared to the global economy.
All right, so it's the stagnation of wages. Noelle, comment on Hillary for a second here, because she's got a new strategy. She cried on that interview on ABC News when talking about her mother, and she apologized. What's your take? She apologized for the email scandal.
Too little, too late. I think that people are looking for a more authentic, more sincere Hillary Clinton. They're not really going to get it. Nobody really believes her character. Her character is depicted beautifully on SNL, where she comes out as she's entitled to this office. No one's really buying. It's too little. It's too late. She should have apologized in the first place. And I think that Americans really, and look at Bernie Sanders and his rise, they're looking for a candidate, anyone but Hillary. And right now, all they've got is Hillary.
The weepiness makes her look even more insincere and phony, because it was in the New York Times, she's going to show humor and heart, and then boom, cry on cue.
I couldn't believe that. You know, you're right. They came out a week ago and said she's going to have a new strategy, more heart. I mean, it's true. Yeah. That's what they said. We'll see about that. All right, Noelle Nikpour, thanks so much for joining us. Brad Anderson, great to see you, sir. Thank you very much. Come back soon.